God damn it.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Take the truth. I'll set you free.
Right on.
Sweet, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Doing okay, man. Tired. I'm always tired.
Is that just from being a dad or just...
Oh, yeah, I think it is. I think it's from being a dad and from working and,
Yeah.
you know, staying up too late. I'm a night person. You know what I mean?
Really? Yeah.
So, but I go to bed early because I have kids.
Yeah.
Early-ish.
Right.
I say like midnight is early, but like I'm more the kind of person that could be up all night long and I'd be fine. But then I'm just ruined the next day.
Yeah.
You know, which is how I feel pretty much every day.
No, ever since I became a dad, man, it's just like I'm more of a morning type of person. Like that's why I function best. But yeah, man, I think 9 o'clock is pushing it for me now.
See, you look like a morning person. You're very put together. You look happy. Like I don't ever feel that way until like around 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
When the kids are sleeping and I'm alone and I can have a glass of wine, and I'm like, yeah, let's get going.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. I'm so happy to have this guy on the podcast. He is a gold nosy winner, and it's not what you think. Okay, I mean, he has a nice nose. But it's not gold medal worthy, I don't think. No, but he's known for his amazing caricature work, which is why he won a gold nosy. But the thing that I really wanted to have him on about was about the caricature. I love to have caricature artists on here who can share their process techniques. And what fascinates me most about this guy is he takes caricature to a completely crazy place that is inspiring and sort of annoying because it's like, how is he doing that? It's too awesome. So anyways, I'm looking forward to having a good chat with this guy. Everyone, please welcome Sebastian Martin.
Right on.
So thanks so much, man, for joining me for this.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, like, you know, I'm really curious and interested on where you come from with your background in caricature, because, you know, there's a lot of different artists out there that are into caricature that have completely, you know, all over the place styles. You know, from Hirschfeld to Tom Richmond to Steve Brodner, Philip Burke, you know, there's so much variety. And like, then I'm sure you know who Risco is, which Risco was someone that I kind of think of when I see your work, but you have something completely different going on. And so I'm just curious, like, where and how this particular thing started, because I'm sure you didn't start this way when you started caricature.
Right. So I started, I think like most caricature artists, you know, the traditional, you know, caricature style that is almost like big head, you know, and exaggerating like in an almost portrait type. So it wasn't abstract, geometric in any way, you know, in the beginning. And so I think that started back in 2012. I came across caricatures for the first time. And actually, some of the work I imitated was a lot of Joe Bloom. And
Who's that?
Was that?
Yeah, who's that guy?
Yeah. And actually some of your work was some of the first caricature work I came across. And I remember coming across it and I was so excited. Like it just blew my mind about where you could take caricatures. And, you know, that's where it was just a very traditional way of when I started in my background in caricature.
And then what happened where you're like, this is boring now? I've like figured this out. Siler and Joe Bloom, those guys, how are they still working in this way? Because like I've gotten beyond that point. I'm like fucking Tesla right now. Electricity. And all of a sudden you just come up with this whole new like mind-blowing thing. Like here's the thing. I mean, I remember I can't remember where I met you the first time. Did I meet you in 2015? Something like that. One of the I thought I met you at one of those caricature conventions.
I see. I think it was.
Was it the last
year I won Golden Nosy? I think was the first time I met.
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's the one where I was gonna say, like, I remember like you're seeing your wall, and I'm like, this dude is crazy, because like, for any of you that don't know what we're talking about, there's an annual caricature convention every year. And if you have any love at all for cartoon, caricaturing, just art in general, because it's, caricature gets a bad rap to a lot of people. A lot of people they're like, oh, caricature, and they make fun of it, and they don't. No, you don't understand. These are amazing artists from all over the world that are just doing mind-blowing things. They're pushing themselves. They're working in every medium you can think of. Every artist gets like this wall space, and it's your wall space. You can fill it up, and you have to draw people that are there. And then at the end, there's like an award ceremony. But Sebastian, probably one of the smallest dudes I've ever seen. Yeah. And he had his wall going like to the ceiling.
Yeah.
With like, how many pieces did you do? It was crazy.
So I did like maybe only 6-7 pieces, but they were pretty big prints.
It seemed like way more.
It went
than
up
that.
It went like up to about 13 feet, somewhere around there. So
I think it was more like 100 pieces. That's how I remember. I remember like a million pieces that were like hanging up from the ceiling, and no, we could just keep going up, right?
Right.
But it blew my mind, because it was like, I think I only did like a few sketches when I was there that time. But like
you did one of me.
You were pumping them up. Oh yeah, I did. That's right. I did do one of you.
And that was pretty cool for me to get, finally get a Jason Siler.
That's actually one of my favorite ones. I forgot that was. I get so confused sometimes. What's what? Dude, that was a lot of fun actually. Yeah, I did a watercolor or gouache painting of you. That's right. Yeah, you're fun to paint, man.
And that was the thing. The first caricature convention I went to was here in Arizona, and before then, I was like the person that was always looking into the window. I could never afford to go to a convention because it's it's real pricey.
Yeah.
To go, but it's worth it. And I think it was maybe 8 years before I went to my first one. Finding out about ISCA, but that was the other thing too. You mentioned just ISCA. This convention of caricature artists coming together. It's so exciting. And the first time it came here to Arizona, I was like, which was my first convention. I said, there's no reason for me now to not go. It's right here down the street. So, I mean, when I went, like everybody I saw there, I knew from the exaggerated features, magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
So they were like celebrities in my eyes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I know that person. I was like, oh my gosh, there's Joe Bloom. And I remember my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she looks at me and she's like, you are fangirling hardcore right now. And, and it was,
funny.
It's true, but I was so excited. And I think after coming to that first convention, I was hooked. Like you just can't go, not go back. And so it's been maybe four conventions I've been to now. But it's just been awesome, because when you get artists locked in a room, you just shut them up in a room for a week. And I think that's really where the most inspiring stuff happens, because you're around different styles, you're around people who've just been doing it for many years. And I think that's also where my style started to develop as well. Because the first convention I went to, like I said, it was a very traditional caricature style, but I wasn't enjoying it. And I think it's not that it wasn't boring, that it was boring. It's more that it just wasn't my taste.
Mhm.
I wanted to do caricatures, but I also wanted to do it in a way that was fun for me. So, I think
You're
that's
looking for your voice, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically. So, and it's just a mashup of a lot of things, and a lot of artists I look up to aren't caricature artists, and I
Mhm.
think that's where it helps to develop, a style. Like artists like Victor Nye, Sean Tan, and Mobius, all those
Mm.
other artists. So really great artists, and so I think that's where I lend from them as well. But
Yeah, no, I can totally relate. Most, I get asked all the time. I've done like interviews about caricature stuff and whatever, and people seem to be shocked when I tell them I don't really have any influences in caricature. Like I used to,
yeah,
and I think that's the thing is, when we're like excited about it and we're learning about it, I totally agree with you. Like I was obsessed with Sebastian Kruger. Like when I first saw his work, I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. And I just, him and like CF Payne and all these different, people what I was always interested more was exaggerating and caricaturing, but also the illustration aspect of it.
yeah,
And like how can I create a scene with a bunch of people and make it look really cool, but then paint it realistic, and so these people were what I was inspired by. But then eventually you start to realize that you are starting to be influenced by, well, for me anyways, it was like Richard Schmid and John Singer Sargent and different painters. Like painting started becoming, once I started painting, I'm like, wow, these guys, it's weird how it can take you to a different place where you're not even really thinking about caricature anymore. For me anyways, it's like caricature is just a part of my tools,
yes,
but I consider myself more of I'm just an artist. I'm a painter, and caricature is one of the things I use to tell a story or whatever.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I can totally understand and relate to that. And it's funny because there's a lot of caricature artists out there that I like. Like I love your work. I love Tom Fluharty's work. Like there's people out there, and every once in a while they'll do a piece where I'm like, oh, dude, that's just, man, but I'm rarely like in those. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's weird. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you see something that just, like there's this. I had this guy on recently, and I'm just loving his work so much. His name is Hollis Dunlap, and you should check him out. He's an amazing painter, but he's like lately every single one of his posts, I'm just like, dang man, the brushwork. It's like everything is just so sculptural and chaotic in the same way,
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that, earlier, you're not thinking about caricature art.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm doing any caricature, I'm not thinking about, oh, this is I'm doing caricature art. I'm not even thinking about art itself. I'm just having fun with what I've
Yeah.
learned. And I'm just doing, what seems best. I have a very short conversation with myself when I'm doing a composition. It's all that looks fun. I want to do that, period. And that's it. I'm not really
Awesome.
overthinking. I'm not,
Yeah.
and things like that. And so, there was, a post that someone had posted, I think it was on Facebook, but they were saying how most of their sketches are like on napkins or on, things other than their sketchbook.
Yeah.
I think there's something to that though, because I do the same thing, and it's because I'm not thinking about art. If I'm in my sketchbook, it's almost too artsy, where you're trying to freak yourself, and I think that's where some of your best ideas come, when you're not really overthinking it, or you're not overthinking.
Yeah. And I think like when you're working in a sketchbook, sometimes you feel like, oh, everything's got to be, even though it's my sketchbook, I want this to look cool. I want, people can see my sketchbook, and yeah, there's that weird pressure that you put on yourself, know?
Absolutely.
What are you using for your stuff? Are you using Illustrator? Because I imagine that's what it looks like to me, but I could be wrong.
Right. So I'm actually using, I'm using Photoshop. So you can still use like vector shape style, like the path.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all Photoshop, and It's not that because I have Illustrator. I've used it. I think it's just a lazy thing. I've never switched over, to learn it. I'm just comfortable with Photoshop. That's just really what it is.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, to me, Illustrator seems like complicated, or like, I don't know. I don't really get it. I've never really used it very much, but excuse me. So what I'm interested about with your style though is like, so you have the one thing I think that's cool is you have let's see how to put it this way. Basically, there's the one thing I really enjoy is like the sort of, I guess, exploration of planes. Like you like to really push and exaggerate, the planes on a form. And it's interesting because, and this is what makes me mad sometimes, because like I've seen you do a caricature of someone, I'm like, dang, because it's like I know the reference that you use to do that, but it's like I would never think that like
Right.
when I look at when I'm going to draw someone, it's usually like if I'm going to do a caricature of somebody, I might do a couple quick little doodles and just play around just to see how I could push some of the form. But I'm always thinking about the anatomy, the muscles, and I have that realistic, even though I'm exaggerating, that I have that in my mind all the time. Like I never cannot turn off. Like I'm seeing like the lips and like basically I'm dissecting you right now when I'm looking at you. I'm like seeing all this anatomy. But the thing that drives me nuts about you, what I love though, is that you take the same thing and you're somehow able to break it down, simplify it in a way, and to these like what seems like basic form, but it's way more complicated than that. Like you make it look simple, but it also to me feels very complicated. But that's just because I don't understand what you're doing, man.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it is studying the type of art that so I get a lot of influence from a lot of the abstract sculptures, like there are really no shape to them, there's really no caricature, it's not like an animal or things like that. So I have a lot, like a library of different sculpture shapes and things like that, and I look through those, just as a library or for influence, and I say, oh, maybe I see a face in there somewhere, and I try to use that with a face. If I'm like, say if I'm drawing you, I kind of go back and forth, but I think again, I'm not worried about the caricature itself. Sometimes I might look away from a reference photo or from a person, and I'm not getting so caught up. I'm going off of my first instinct of what I saw in your face. And then I'm trying to just draw that down. Sometimes it comes right away. Sometimes it's like 10, 15, 20 sketches, frustrating trying to get it. So it's not always easy, but over time, once you start to just draw that way, you kind of start to get a little faster. And you start to just talk that language of abstract and geometric. So it's a little bit of studying for sure. So it's not like I'm pulling it out of from nowhere. I have to study and have some kind of reference. So.
Well, I mean, I mean, I get that, but it's like, it's what's unique about it, and what I like is I like stuff that's completely different than what I do. Like I find it amazing because there's certain art that you just like, man, I like there's certain art out there where I'm not, even though it's done really well and it's like impressive, like the rendering, for example, I'm not that blown away because I think I understand how it was done. Like I get it. Like it's I that just took a lot of time, a lot of patience. Like for example, I love Sebastian Kruger's work, but I don't get as excited about his portrait work that he does. Not that it's not good, it's really good. It's just, I don't know. It's like there's like when he pushes, when he does a caricature, he every once in a while he still does those. There's something more about that I just find more interesting because I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the unique thing about his brain that I'm actually seeing right now. Because the rendering part of it isn't really a mystery, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about your work that I mean, every single piece I see you post, I'm like, I look at that, I'm like even I love when you do like, you'll do like characters, like just, you know, I think you're just doing it for fun, I don't know, but like some like Pokemon character or something like that. But then you just like Sebastian Martin, you know, the hell out of it or something. And it's so cool to see that perspective, you know.
Yeah.
So now what I'm wondering, I guess, is when you're looking at something, when you're about to draw it, you're obviously thinking about the planes and the lighting and the form. Do you come up with like do you do like any rough thumbnails first and just like decide like, okay, hey, I'm gonna have like a strong light from this one side, so when I create all these planes, everything is going to be in the shadow? And like, do you plan it like that, or do you just kind of just start just pushing the shapes around? And
so sometimes I do thumbnails. Sometimes like I almost start with like a box and I kind of chisel out that box. I'm working the plane. I'm doing the 2-point perspective because a lot of the geometric stuff I do is like from the 2-point perspective. So I just start with a square, a cube, and then I start kind of chiseling in and saying, all right, you know, let me see if I can get this character in this circle or this square. And then I'm starting to work on the lighting and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes, again, like I said, it takes maybe one thumbnail sketch or it takes several to really figure it out. But yeah, like you mentioned the Pokemon thing, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I made the decision to do like 151 of those characters and it's taking forever. But again, I'm doing 150 of those helps with, you know, figure out my style again and just figuring out how to use shapes, geometric. It's a challenge, but it's a good one as well. But yeah, I think just a few thumbnails here and there with them.
Well, it's like, so last week, I think it was last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. You did a piece of why am I blanking on his name right now? Ray. Yeah. I'm see, I told you how I'm super tired. Ray Bonnelli. That piece you did, I'm looking at it right now, is so freaking awesome. I mean, obviously the fun thing about that was, you know, everyone's kind of, you know, catching on to the one thing that Ray loves to do in his paintings is he loves to, you know, really push the light. He always has like something to do with heavy shadows. Yeah. So that was really cool to see you do that in that piece. It's like a nice little cherry on top. But like the design of this caricature, it's, I mean, here's the thing. It's kind of funny talking to another caricature artist, like what were you thinking when you saw him this way? Because like, but I am genuinely curious, because it's in my opinion one of the most spot on caricatures I've ever seen of him. And it's also just, when I look at him, like, damn, like like no one else should try to draw him. This is the one that it should be, I think.
With him, you know, I think, and like with some other caricatures, you know, when I'm drawing in that style, I think it's the eyes I'm trying to get the most, you know, because if you can get the eyes, usually that has a lot of definition, you know, to somebody. And so I think that was one of the cases where I was trying to get his eyes right, you know, and like his, you know, almost like, you know, imitation of his, even though it's just a cube for eyes.
Yeah.
So.
But see, here again, here's the thing. And this is where I see the genius in what you do. Those eyes don't look like his eyes, but somehow they do.
Right.
That's what is annoying to me, because I'm like, those are just like, you look at this guy and you see cubes for eyes. I mean, maybe you need to go to the hospital, my friend.
Because, you know, that's what I'm wondering. Like, once I keep doing these, people are like, what is he on? Like, what's wrong with this guy? You know,
I mean, the lips, here's the thing I like about this piece, and I'm going to show this piece so people know what we're talking about. But the lips, and I love the way that you did the glasses, and you leave that little square. You don't even have to do a nose. It's just hilarious. The lips, I get that. I get why you did that. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. But it's like little things like the main design of the piece is just like, you look at it, you're like, that just seems so simple, but it's
Right.
just, it's not. It's so there's so much like layered thought that goes into it. So mad respect, man.
Yeah. Well, when I
so
start
funny.
this sketch, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying it's so funny. It's like really a funny. The eyebrows just floating above his head.
Right.
It's just like, it's awesome, dude. I love it.
Yeah, man. Well, when I'm doing the sketch, again, I'm starting with the basic lines and shapes, but I stop there. I'm not going to work in every single detail that I see on the photo. I'm stopping there, and I'm kind of just having my fun with it and things like that. Yeah.
No, it's awesome, man. So I love it, man. It's so like I said before, when I opened up your email and I saw that, I was like, I just looked at it for the longest time. I was laughing. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, oh man. And that's what I like. I love, like, it's rare that I feel stumped, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I said before, it's like a mystery. Like that's like one of the first time I saw a Sargent painting up close, I was like, oh wow, like there's so much going on here that most people are just walking by. They're just walking by. They don't see, there's so much magic in this painting, and people are just walking by it. They don't get it, and you feel kind of like, all right, I'm noticing something here, but that doesn't happen very often. But some of your pieces, I'm just like, I have that feeling. I'm like, man, what the heck? Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to ask you about, what was I going to say? Well, let's go way back.
Oh.
Way back. So obviously, I have the feeling that you're with your work now, you're the kind of person I can tell you're passionate, you're driven, you're continuing to push yourself. Yeah. Like your style is not going to stay like this. You're going to continue to push. You're going to push the envelope. And that it happens with the best. That's what I think. And otherwise, because you're going to be bored. You're going to get bored eventually. And you're going to, if you stay stagnant in the same exact, like this is, you don't want to, in my opinion, be like, this is just what I do. Right. But it all has to start somewhere. So in 2012, you started getting into caricature, but what were you doing before that? Like art wise and that sort of a thing?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of just realistic portrait, with charcoal, graphite type of stuff. And that was the thing, my parents were always supportive of me being an artist. They always bought supplies, anything I needed. And then I went to college for an art degree, but then I started to get a little bored there again, because it just wasn't my thing. Just drawing portraits all the time just didn't feel exciting to me anymore. And so, there was some time where I took off, where I wasn't doing caricatures or art anymore at all. But again, I think it was getting into caricatures that really hit, sparked that that fire again for art. But yeah, it was a lot of just portrait stuff. So I think that sort of stuff helped lend to my artwork now, because you got to learn the principles of design, color theory, all that stuff. So I learned all of that, but it was very, very what everybody else basically was doing. So nothing too exciting.
So were you doing like, was it just like school stuff that you were doing, or were you doing like commissions, like portraits and stuff like that too?
Mostly school stuff. Yeah, for sure. So, and it wasn't, I just went for like an associate's, and I stopped because even my instructors towards the end of it, they're like, if you keep going, I think you're just wasting your time, pursuing a degree and things like that. So I think
at least they told you that,
right. Yeah.
A lot of those schools, they just want your money, man.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. I had one of my previous instructors contact me because they wanted to feature me in some of their some of the highlights of people who actually went to art school and actually made it. And unfortunately, that's a sad thing. Not many artists that go to college to get a degree in art make it.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of the few that came out of in my class that is still doing it full time, and making a living doing it. But
yeah, it's totally, I mean, I feel like, if I was to give anyone advice, art schools aren't going to like this advice, but I feel like if you have enough passion and enough drive and you work really, really hard, there's life drawing and painting from life classes. Most cities will have private art school classes that are way more affordable, or just different, like art clubs that you can sign. There's plenty in Chicago, places where you don't have to spend very much money at all, and you can just, basically do the most important things that you need to become a good artist, like drawing and painting from life, doing still lifes, drawing and painting models, doing plein air painting. You can do all that stuff on your own, Google, YouTube videos, there's a lot out there that you can really learn from. Schoolism, you can take like so many classes, really for very, very affordable. And then, but what I would recommend to people is what I think that I wish I would have done is, if you want to go to school, get a degree in business, go to business school.
You see, that was the thing. Yeah. When I went through all those years of just, taking, art classes. And at the end of it, I was like, man, I wish I had done it like a business class or, something.
Marketing.
Yeah. Marketing.
Taxes.
Yes. Yeah. Because at the end of it, when I was on my own as an artist, I was doing freelance and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing on that side. And I think that's one of the reasons why artists don't make it, is because they don't learn the marketing, the business side of things. So
yeah. And that's the thing too. Like I feel pretty lucky because my story is a little different because I was already working as a professional illustrator. I already all self-taught, and I was doing stuff, publication and that sort of thing, but really just, still such a infant, just so much to learn, still teaching myself how to paint and all that kind of stuff when I went to art school. And I only went to art school because I thought maybe it would help me with the stress that I was going through. Like maybe I could learn something that would help me become faster and more efficient and all that stuff. And I found out going there that no, it's just, you just got to keep working and, just work hard. That's basically it.
Now there was some benefits, for me going to art, taking art classes and stuff like that. I'm not going to say it was completely a waste of time, but I did take some things away from it, and I think it was just being exposed to different types of art, and especially with some of the instructors I had, again, like they were very honest and saying, I don't need to pursue another degree, but they still had some very good stuff to hand to me that was useful as an artist. But again, I think overall, if you can have, some great teachers, and artists in your life, that can definitely help. That will save you thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say is like, I felt like when I went in, I already had a goal and I was already doing, like, caricature illustration is not a huge, like, there's not a lot of us as far as like the publication and that sort of a thing. And so it's kind of like, if you can stand out enough in that group, you have a chance of making a living doing that.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's a lot different than just saying, oh, I'm just going to be an illustrator. And I'm just going to, do illustration, just basic illustration, where, mine was more focused on one particular thing. And so I think it made sense for me because that's what I love doing. And I was very focused on that. Whereas a lot of people, like, if you're just going to be just illustration, you don't have a specific like niche that you kind of fit into. There's thousands of people
Yeah.
that you're competing against.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, just in the illustration world, fine art world, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And which is beautiful because we're the best people in the world, I think, artists. The world needs us.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, one thing that art school does is it helps you develop a portfolio of art school art.
Yeah.
And then when it's time to go in the real world, you just got portfolios of vases and grapes and naked ladies and shoes hanging from a old door or whatever it is. And
That's
nobody
exactly how my portfolio looked.
yeah, nobody cares about that. Nobody
Right.
cares about that. And
Right.
so when you graduate art school, you have to start all over again. And most of these people don't get that, or they won't do that. And, I know a handful of people from when I was in art school that are still doing it. Some of them are super successful. Some are still doing amazing work, but I don't think it's like their full-time thing that they can do. It's not easy, and it's especially this last year, it's been just a terrible time for everybody, how are you guys during all this pandy stuff?
Oh, so, I was very fortunate, through this pandemic to still be a caricature artist. And, I don't know if you saw, I was doing like a very reduced rate for, caricatures. But here's the thing. A lot of the commissions and work I got through the pandemic were from the caricature community.
Oh, cool.
When I lowered my rates, everyone was like, oh, I want to get a Sebastian Martin, caricature.
That's awesome.
So again, there's that specific audience, that you have that will help lend you some of that that income and things like that. And so, that was another secret trade that I had found out, just being a freelance artist, and something that I learned from another artist that I look up to. I grew up with his work. His name is Ed Emberley. It's like the children's book, stuff that he has. But he said something that was very influential to me, very beneficial. But he said, if I try to speak to everybody, I speak to nobody. I can only speak to those that are just like me. And so when you have that audience that has, found you, or you found them, that's really what's important. My style is very unique. It's different. I get that. And it only pertains to a certain audience. And that's okay. I'm fine with that, because if I can have that audience that's, committed to following my work, to buying it on a regular basis, that's huge. So I don't have to try to impress the entire world. And I think that's a huge weight off of any artist's shoulders when you realize that. And you just need that specific audience. And something, again, they'll find you. You always have to go out and find them.
Build it, they will come.
There you go.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's good advice. Yeah, who I think you should submit some work to though, is the New Yorker. I think that your work would be perfect for a New Yorker cover.
Yeah, I've had that in mind too.
Because I don't know if you know how it works with the New Yorker, but they're not like a normal magazine that commissions covers and stuff. Like sometimes, like I've done paintings for inside the New Yorker, but it's been a dream of mine to do a cover, but they don't, they have a very specific aesthetic for their covers. But I think yours would fit way better than mine. Like, like I think I could do a cool cover for them, but it wouldn't feel like a New Yorker cover. You know what I mean? I'd have to I'd have to change my style up and do something different. Maybe just paint a watercolor or something, and then they would like it. But like your style of design and everything, I think would be, if you come up with a good enough concept. And that's the thing about the New Yorker that I was going to say is I think it's submission only. Like I think you pay attention to what's going on in the world. You come up with. It's almost like doing comedy or something. You got to think about like a punchline or something. It's usually something very clever. Are you familiar with Peter DeSev?
Peter DeSev, I don't believe so. Yeah.
You gotta look, dude. Peter DeSev is just amazing artist. But he's done tons of New Yorker covers. He's an amazing, brilliant like concept artist, character designer. Not concept, character designer. He's done character design for like Pixar movies, and if you saw his work, you'd be like, oh, like Ice Age. You know the movie Ice Age?
Oh yeah.
Like he designed like all the characters in that, and like,
Gotcha.
well, he's got this great book. It's just called The Art of Peter Desev. But it's one of my favorite books. It's a huge, thick book. But anyways,
yeah,
it's sort of, and same with, do you know who Anita Kuntz is? She's another illustrator. She's amazing too. But I see her and Peter, and there's a bunch of different illustrators that I really respect, and they're constantly like posting, oh, here's another concept idea that was rejected by the New Yorker. And it's so good. It's so smart. It's just, you're like, wow, man. Like, so you have to kind of go in there thinking, you know, like Jason Chatfield is a friend of mine who I think he's the president right now of the National Cartoon Society, but he's also a stand-up comedian in New York, and he submits tons of cartoons to the New Yorker, and every once in a while he gets one in, you know.
Wow. But
it's like, it's crazy, like how, you know, it's basically you have to get used to a life of rejection.
Oh yeah.
Because and you just keep, but seeing some of these ideas and how brilliant they are, and then knowing that they didn't want it, you know. But I mean, you know, I know how it works. It just probably wasn't right for that week or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the frustrating things I know as an artist is I can spend hours on a piece, and at the end I'll love it. I think it's one of the best things I've done. And then when people see it, they're like, yeah, you know, it's okay.
Yeah.
But they'll versus like a one that you didn't really like, and everyone's like, wow, and excited about it. And it's like, okay.
Dude,
whatever.
did you ever see that I did a really stupid Donald Trump drawing? It literally took me 60 seconds, and that was the whole point. It was before he got elected. It was during the Republican debates. I was driving my kids to school, listening to the highlights of I think I was listening to the actual debate from the night before. And
was this that shirt that you made?
Yeah. I did this, but like, I was so annoyed because all he was doing was like, literally, somehow he still gets elected, but literally he was just like, Jeb, you're a poo-poo face, Jeb. Okay. Line dead. Nope. Liar. And he was not contributing anything but good at all. Yeah. Nothing presidential. And I just kept looking at him going, the whole time. And so I went home, and I remember just being so annoyed. And I said to myself, I was about to start a job for, I think, the Weekly Standard or something. It was like I had a deadline. But I remember going like, you know what? I'm going to give myself 60 seconds to draw this asshole. And just from my mind. And so I literally did the most simple shapes, whatever. It was so simple, so quick. And all I did is, his face was orange, and all I did is put like an asshole in the middle of his face.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, that's funny, but I'm not going to share this. I was like, I'm not going to share it. So I started working on my job, and I can't stop thinking about, I'm like, should I share that? Like, because it's kind of funny. And then I'm thinking, oh no, I don't want people to think like, because it's not a good drawing. It's not like something I was proud of, or like, hey, right, Mom, look at what I drew. Like, it's not good. It's just these basic shapes. And then I was thinking, it's kind of amazing how I literally did a blob of orange and a blob of blonde, and then and everyone could tell who it is. And I had like a little shoulders with a red tie. So I shared it, and that thing went viral. It was crazy how many messages and how many people were resharing it. And I was like, this is nuts. It just went like crazy, to the point where people were begging for a t-shirt. And I was like, fine, I'll put it on a t-shirt. This is a piece of crap drawing I don't even care about. And I sold a bunch of t-shirts. Wow. And then during like the election and, you know, even it kind of during like the debauchery of what was 2016 through 2020, it kind of disappeared. I didn't really think about it very much, but towards the end, people were using it at protests. Like people were tagging me, and like people had it on signs and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's funny.
I actually had to stop a guy on Twitter. He turned it into his headline logo, which whatever, I don't care. But the thing was, someone brought it to my attention that he was hand painting acrylic paintings of my Trump thing, and he was selling them. So people, and I was like, dude, listen, I told him, I said, listen, I don't care about this thing. It like literally means nothing to me. But if you're going to be selling those things, I have to get a percentage. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And the guy was actually really nice, and he took everything down and he sent me a check.
Oh, wow.
He's like, it was like not for very much, but it was very thoughtful. Like most people don't do that, you know?
Right. I was going to say, usually when that happens, it's either they ghost you or they just disappear. They don't respond, you know, things like that. That's pretty wow.
I think he sent me a check for like $250 or something, you know? He felt bad. And I was like, hey, and I was just like, wow, that was really nice of you, man.
Yeah.
But anyways, one more thing I wanted to ask you. I want to show you. I have some fan art and stuff I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's already been like 45 minutes. I feel like I barely got.
Yeah.
So were you as a small kid? Were you into art? Were you doing that your whole life, or was it more when you like, what am I going to do with myself? You know, or how did that swing?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a cowboy when I grew up. Which was kind of not too far away, because that little gap where I stopped doing art, you know, when I was an adult, I was actually going into apprenticeship for being a horse jockey. And if you've met me in person, you know that would be a good
dude. I could floss my teeth. I could floss my teeth with you, I think.
Oh man, so that was a weird time, but pretty cool, you know.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Did you do it? You actually were training for it?
Yeah, I was training for it.
Wasn't that scary?
Oh, it was. Every time I went out on a horse, it was like that feeling of death, you know?
Yeah, it looks terrifying.
Well, and that was the thing when I went into
first of all, being a horse jockey, it sounds like disc jockey. That is nothing at all like a cowboy, my friend.
Well, here's the thing. People said if once you fall off, then you're considered a cowboy. You know, I was just surrounded by, you know, I grew up in.
There's no cows. Like,
all right, yeah.
Like, where is this?
I know, right? That phrase, yeah, or the title. But no, yeah, that was, you know, I think going into that, and then I think I was out for like every other month. I was out for injuries. I fractured my back. You know, nasal. That's terrible. Black and blue all the time. But I did that for a couple of years, and eventually I was like, all right, I think art's my thing. You know, after all the injuries.
Oh my gosh!
And I was one of the lucky ones that came out.
Why did you stay for 2 years? Like, it seems like the first time I'd be like,
well, I enjoyed it still, you know, even though there was that risky side, I think just getting on, you know, getting on a horse, I loved it. And so even to today, I still enjoy riding, but I just wouldn't go doing it for, you know, in a race, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And I think it was like
riding horses is one thing, but
right.
You know,
one to two jockeys die a year.
Oh gosh.
And so when I was doing it, there were, you know, we would hear like there was a jockey that died on the racetrack today.
And then what do you have to go through? I mean, mentally, like you're going to ride that day. I mean, you got to be like freaking out.
A little. Yeah. Yeah. But you know, it's, you
I guess people die driving every day and we still do it. Like,
yeah. And here's the thing, you're only going like what, 10, 20 miles an hour on a horse, but you know, it's still, that's pretty fast when you're on a horse.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah,
that's really
I think fast. That's what, yeah, after all the injuries, I think I was like, all right, I think I need to give it up, and I think art's my thing. So
gosh. So So, but when you were younger, you wanted to be a cowboy, which apparently to you that
Jokingly,
means
yeah.
riding really fast on a huge animal.
Okay, I was like only 8 when I was.
I thought cowboy was like, wearing a cowboy hat, wearing some cool boots, maybe you got like a pistol or two, like that's what I think.
Yeah.
My gosh, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
did you do art when you were a kid?
Yeah, very, very early on. And I was known in school, even in elementary, junior high, like everybody knew me. I was like, oh, that's the kid that draws. And I drew a lot of dinosaurs.
Oh, that's cool.
So like I was known to be the kid that drew a lot of dinosaurs, and so really good dinosaurs. But yeah, so I was known for that growing up for sure.
Well, okay. So you always had it in you. You always were, that's really awesome that you had supportive parents, because it's like, I always find it interesting. I've met so many artists that tell me how, they just didn't have the support for the arts and stuff. And I mean, I feel lucky that way because my dad's an artist, and it's always just been a part of, I don't know any other way,
Yeah.
I can't imagine really what it would be like growing up without art around me all the time, music, art, anything. So definitely feel lucky about that. I talked with an artist friend of mine recently who's like, yeah, like I had no support, and he's, like my dad was abusive and all this crazy stuff. And, like, he said like, his dad would tell him like art's for pussies and make them feel terrible, make them feel, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, that's a completely different way of, like, I'm so glad I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah. And that's when I was learning caricatures for those like 6 years, I had a day job still, back in 2012 and going forward. But I remember having this dream, once I came across caricatures and ISCA and seeing everybody doing it, I said to myself, I want to do that. I want to be an artist full time. And I would, I was at the time working at a dealership. So I was washing cars, doing all the errands that nobody else wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I remember, the first time I drew one of my coworkers, it was like, I didn't even consider it a caricature. I didn't even, it didn't cross my mind. I just, exaggerated his muscles because he was known for that. And I put it up on the wall in the office. And when everybody saw that, they laughed. They thought it was so funny. And I think that's really where, that spark that came, was in me. And I remember after that, I was washing a car and one of the technicians came out and he's just standing there smoking and he's, looking at me and he says, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "Why are you here?" And I think that's also another question too. I had to ask, like, what am I doing? What am I going to do with this now? And so every day after my 8-hour shift for hours, like I was sketching, I was drawing caricatures. I was eating it up. I was watching YouTube videos because there was no school out here for caricatures and cartoons. So I was buying books. One of the first books I bought was Rejects, of course. And just
that's a great book to learn from.
Oh yeah. But
Joe Bloom's Rejects, the ones that no one wants. I'm gonna learn how to do caricature from that book.
Right. Well, and that was the thing too.
It's an awesome book, but
yeah, and I learned what
I just think that's pretty funny.
I learned what caricature was, and from there I was just again just chasing this dream. And eventually I landed my first job as a cartoonist, for the college newspaper, a little small job, but boy, I loved it. I was working with journalists and they would shoot me ideas and I would just draw a cartoon. And
well, that's awesome.
And so I just get a little small paycheck but
that's cool. What were you doing it like pen and ink type stuff or?
Actually, it was digital.
All digital? Okay.
Yeah. So they would just put it
pen and ink. Paper. I'm so old, man. That's like I used to do. Like one of my first things I ever did was I was working for a magazine, like 20 years ago now, and there's a cartoonist that had been the cartoonist for their magazine. He had 2 full pages. And he left and they go, "Do you want to do the cartoon?" And I was like, "Yeah," but I didn't know what I was doing. So all of a sudden I had to like figure out, and I was doing pen and ink, you know, like kind of Calvin and Hobbes type thing, and then coloring it with a mouse. Like it was, anyways, that was a long time ago. I remember using like a light table to transfer, you know, I would ink on top of my pencil lines and then scan it. And it's like, people, it's so funny how fast things change, because people are like, why didn't you just do it on an iPad? It's like, yeah, why didn't Leonardo da Vinci use a cell phone? I don't know. Anyways,
I used like this little, all those, I think I've had it for 12 years, but I had a little small Wacom tablet, and I used it for like 12 years. At same stylus, you know, for all of those, you know, all the commissions, all of that stuff. I'm gonna have to frame it, but it eventually broke. But you know, it lasted me through that all that time. And that's all.
Was it a Graphier, like one of those like plastic ones that you scratch up really bad?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was pretty scratched up for sure. And I had this really old MacBook, but it did the job, you know. So
that's awesome.
I think I used it all the way up till I got my golden nosy, you know. And
oh wow.
Hung it up.
Like, I'm retiring this thing.
Yeah.
So I want to show you some fan art, but before we do that, I've got a question from Dominic Zeilinger.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a question for you.
Questions from fans.
Hi, Jason and Sebastian. I'd like to ask a question about making a drawing interesting. Sebastian, you are using very basic shapes in your drawings and are able to create great likenesses with them. I like it very much to recognize a person instantly in just some simple lines. But if a drawing consists just of simple lines and shapes, it is for most people just interesting to look on it for some seconds. How are you enriching your simple shapes to make your drawings such interesting?
Yeah. I think this is the other side of my compositions. I love using textures. You know, and I make my own, you know, textures and things like that. But I think just splashing it on there really helps, you know, bring it out too. Just to make a composition a lot more interesting. Because like you said, you know, just simple shapes, blocks, you know, it's great, but you know, I want to see what else I can do with that, you know. So I think just adding, you know, different types of things like that, textures and stuff, is fun for me, but I think it also makes the piece fun too.
Yeah, that's the one thing that was cool about the piece that you did of Ray. Like, you've got like these, you know, flat planes, which you could have just left like the color that it was, but then you have like these kind of like waves in there and different, like, you know, design textures. Yeah, definitely makes it a lot more. I think that's another thing too. Do you know who Robert Risco is?
Yeah.
Okay, because that, like, your work doesn't look like it, excuse me, but there's definitely there's something about it that I think kind of in the same family. Like, you know, you don't look like a chimpanzee, but you're, you know.
Right. Well, and one of the artists that I loved his illustrations, Lane Smith. He did the Stinky Cheese Man book.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh man,
it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was a book that I checked out as a kid, like obsessively, like compulsively.
The Stinky Cheese book.
Yeah, Stinky Cheese Man.
Oh, Cheese Man.
Yeah.
The Stinky Cheese Man. Okay.
No, he has this style though. It's really dark, but the illustrations, and actually I remember listening, and he actually got rejected a lot, you know, from publications because the illustrations were really dark. But eventually they landed at someone that published it. And it's a Caldecott award-winning book too, I believe. But I think his style, and like he uses collage and a lot of textures, and I think that's an influence for me too. I just look to that and just using as, you know, textures, and I'll take photographs of stuff and I'll implement it in my work, like almost like collage. So again, I'm just saying, hey, that looks fun, let me try that. So
yeah, well, that's the beautiful thing about art in general, and that's one thing that's fun about caricature is that, you know, being able to take all different aspects of different things like I think for me, my evolution when I was first starting, it was trying to render. I kind of felt like I'm going to do exaggeration and caricatures, but if I can render like super, super realistic, like, I mean, I used to do things so tight that it was crazy, like all these little pores and all this kind of stuff, that it would just blow art directors away and all this kind of stuff. And, and I'm going to get so much work, and it did work, but it put me in this thing where it's like, wow, I got to do that every time. And it's so exhausting, and in the rendering, it's like, but the more I've grown and developed as an artist, now I appreciate more saying more or just as much with less. I find it more interesting. Like now, like similar to what you're saying about textures and so on, like if I can like paint a caricature of someone for a magazine, but like I've been doing this thing lately where I'm like, I'm gonna give myself 2 hours tops to paint Joe Biden's face or whatever. And what it does is and I kind of been doing it where I kind of paint it smaller, even though I'm doing digital, I'm trying to use bigger brush strokes to like say what I need. And then if I can do it like in an hour, just get everything in there, it tends to have like this more organic life to it. And then I go in there and kind of tighten up just like around the eyes and the mouth, just like where it needs to be a little tighter, but leave everything else the way it is. Yeah. It's like, wow, there's so it's kind of cool that as artists we can continue to just like play with it. It doesn't, you don't have to, because it's easy, I think, to feel like you're pigeonholed into like a sorry, I don't mean to offend any pigeons out there, but like to like be forced to like stay in this like technique forever. Anyways, thanks for the question, Dominic. And so I have some fan art that I want to show you.
Bring it.
And there's quite a bit because you're Mr. Popular.
Well, it's just his face,
Yeah. So we'll try to go through them quick. Feel free to like, say anything you want about them. Right, we'll try to go through them.
Very flattering.
Yes. This is by Hossein Razapor.
All right on.
This looks like something that it reminds me of something, and I'm
jealous of the neck though. I wish
what it kind of reminds me of Tony Hinchcliffe. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a stand-up comedian who kind of looks like the Joker a little bit, I think. So
Willem Dafoe almost.
Yeah, a little bit in there. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
This is by Ray Shipman.
Ray Shipman.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. This is what is that? I think, oh no, sorry. I just saw something on the screen that was not part of the painting. That was on my screen.
Oh, nice.
There
you go.
This is
Who's
cool.
that one by?
This is Lucas Iscasati. Iscasati, I think. Say that. Hopefully I said that right. I like this one, man. This is pretty funny. This looks like a guy who wants to ride on a horse very fast and then call himself a cowboy. This is what a cowboy looks like, folks, in 2021. This is the new man. In this new woke culture, this is what we call a cowboy.
Don't hate it, man. Oh wow, yeah.
This is cool. This is by Jacques Lemonnier.
Right on.
And what's cool about this, I mean, people that have seen this podcast enough, Jacques, he submits quite a bit, and he's normally does like a super tight like cross hatching technique that's really nice. So it's cool to see him trying to like push himself into attempting to do your kind of style, I guess. You know?
Man. Yeah, mad props. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. There you go. What I like about this one is This is by Jwenk Wei. What I like about this one is this one comes with a sound effect. Like when you look at this, I mean, when I hear it, don't you? Like close your eyes and then open your eyes and look at it. You know.
I thought you meant seriously, like attach some kind of a
No
audio.
No, like when I go back, I look at this, and even that one is like, but you look at this one, it's like, it's
Right on.
like, what sound does a llama make? That's what I want. This definitely looks like it's a llama that's about to.
That reminds me of that one that Allie drew at ISCA. She knew, I told her that I was, a horse jockey or attempting to, and she drew me and the horse with the same face. Like the horse looked just like me. Like it had my face. I love it. It's one of my favorite, caricature pieces.
I love her work, man. She's funny.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
She did What I Mean, made me look like a fat piece of shit, and
that was one of my favorites.
I was so depressed. I wanted to kill myself.
No, I love that.
I told her, I said, I hate this thing.
Well,
yeah.
I love it, Alan.
No, I love it too. She's very talented.
Yeah. Now this one's actually well done, so
yeah.
Yeah.
This one's by Paula Petwani.
Ah, cool.
Very cool. I think it's
squash. Where do the eyebrows begin and the glasses end? Like,
yeah, it's more. You know what you look like? Look like the Lone Ranger riding that horse again.
Are we gonna ride this whole thing?
Yeah, I don't. Hey man, you brought it up. It's your life, your reality. This is by Dino Lee.
Right on.
That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's fun, seeing people like trying to explore your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got to feel good, right?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh wow.
I like this one a lot. This is so
very much
strange.
minimalist. Yeah.
Yeah, by Pablo Salas. This is cool, man.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. He's been submitting lately. He's done the last few podcasts, and really like how he just got such a simple line thing, but it's pretty funny. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is by Tony Lewis. You know what? This is interesting because I'm just looking at this now. Almost reminds me of Patrick from the Black Keys a little bit. Patrick Carney.
Okay.
I mean, there's something about that expression a little bit. It's funny. There we go.
Oh.
By Matt Elder.
Okay. Right on.
Wait a minute. Is that one Matt Elder? Oh, mattelder.com. Okay. It's interesting. This is you as a grandpa. Yeah. Grandpa, what was one of the dumbest things you ever did? Well,
don't say it. Wait, now this. Oh, that's pretty cool, man. That's like my
yeah, this is awesome. This is by Dominic Zeilinger.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Definitely going back to my my nationality, Mayan,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm digging it.
That's awesome. Did you see Apocalypto Now? Or Apocalypto?
Apocalypto, yeah. I actually have that. By Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah, that's a good movie, man. That's intense.
Oh yeah.
Were you like did you feel like, oh, that's my people?
Oh yeah, I was like, yep, that's me on the screen. I had somebody tell me that I look like the lead character with
I could see that. Yeah, a little bit. Dude, that movie is so intense. I think I watched that movie with my teenage daughters maybe last year for Father's Day because I wanted to show. I was like, you want to see a good Father's Day movie? Like, and they were like, yeah. I'm like, this movie's intense, but it's all about a dad trying to get back to his wife and kid.
There you go.
And it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And it just kills me, the ending. Oh, like after all that stuff that he went through, and then the Spaniards show up.
Right.
Like, oh man. This is great.
That's like actual height, to my stylist.
That's funny. This is by
Very realistic, actually.
Pure Mr. Ponce.
But
Yeah, that's funny. I like I like what he did with the ear too. It's pretty funny. It's like, what is that? That's pretty hilarious. Yeah, that's nice, man. That's a funny one.
yeah, it is.
Again, I don't know if it's just me, but like a lot of times when I see these kind of, I hear noises, like I can hear like a weird sound when I see this one. This one's pretty cool. This is by Greg Halbert, and
Yeah.
he wanted to show that this is like on a post-it note.
Oh, right on. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. It's a cool style.
Yeah, it's nice line work.
Yeah.
It's cool. This is by
Yeah.
Scott
The door.
Sackett. Scott. And dude, it's funny, like going to the conventions and all this kind of stuff. We've had so many caricatures done of ourselves. So you're probably like used to this. Like sometimes I have people on here, they're like freaked out by it.
Right.
Which that's always fun too. Just adds a little bit more entertainment, I think.
No, man, that was like a badge of honor when people would
Yeah.
work for me. Oh, that one's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is by Christine Verratti.
Wow,
Yeah, I like her stuff. It's pretty cool.
that is right on.
Yeah. You look see right here, you look not like a horse jockey, you look more like a disc jockey.
This is
Yeah.
yeah, that is with the headphones and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness. Hey,
uh,
that's cool. Yeah.
this is by Ricardo Vasquez.
Right on.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty clean, man.
Yeah, it's a nice style.
Mm.
And this is the last one. This is by Ellen Anna Kawangan. Gosh, I am butchering this. The last name, I think it's Kawenjian. I don't know. I'm so sorry.
That could be like a cool bobblehead.
Yeah, it does kind of look like that. That's pretty funny. That's awesome, man. So thank you so much to everybody for submitting the artwork. That's really cool.
Wow.
One thing I just remembered, I don't know why bobblehead reminded me of this, but one thing I saw that you did, so you're obviously a cool dad. You do cool things for your kids, and which I always have mad props, respect for people that are good parents. But one thing you did is you found this old Jeep toy thing, and then you turned it into a Jurassic Park car for your kid. That is the coolest dad thing ever.
Thank you. Yeah, it was more for me than it was for her.
That's funny. That was awesome though.
Thank you.
Like it looked legit. It was like, it was pretty cool.
No, that's one of the I that was just a good fun little project. But those are some of the things breaking away from just a regular art type of stuff I do. Doing something like that is really helps free me mentally and emotionally. So good break. But looking for the next project. So.
How old are your kids now?
So I have a 2-year-old who's in her sassy years now, and then I have a 3-month-old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Similar-ish, because I have a 3-year-old she's quite the character. It's the fun time, and then the youngest is almost 1, so it's pretty interesting, man. It keeps things. And then I have a 14-year-old and a almost 18-year-old, so crazy. I don't keep a gun in the house because I'm afraid I'll use it. Anyways, no, no. We'll cut that out. No. So, anyways, no, we won't. Is there anything that you before we get going here, you want to share with people, let people know what's up, where they can find you online or anything like that? Let them know. Let them.
So right now I just have an Instagram where you can find all that crazy abstract artwork stuff. That's Sebastian Martin illustration. So that's where you can find it. I have a Patreon I just started, and just looking forward to the next project, like I said. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. And for those of you that he just brought it up, I got to say something. I said a while ago I'm starting a Patreon. I'm still planning on doing that. It's a work in progress, but I had to put it on hold, dude. I've had to put it on hold just because like we're about to move soon and there's different things going on, and so I'm basically waiting until I'm settled, and then I'm gonna, because I want to make sure that I'll be able to put the time into it that I want to. But anyways, thanks so much for joining me for this, man. It's been awesome talking with you. I love your work so much. And I hope to be able to see you again. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to this next convention. I'm hoping to.
Oh, man.
If it works out. The thing about the convention is it's always, it seems like a time of year where it's like harder for me to get away. But what were we going to say?
I was wondering, I haven't heard any news yet if they're going to be doing it in
For
person.
sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe they're not. If they are, I'm hoping, because I think it was going to be in Vegas. I don't know if they're still doing that, but
Right next door to me, so it'd be great.
yeah, no, that would be cool. So anyways, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for hanging out and listening to us chit chat about art and stuff. And we'll see you all next time.
All right, cool.
You want answers? And the truth shall set you free. I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.